All right, looks like we are live. Welcome to Standing for Truth. My name is Donnie B, and I am your host and moderator for tonight's debate between Dr. Kent Hovind and Ken Rock. This is a continuation in the 2022 Evolution Debate Challenge series. As a matter of fact, this is debate number 44 in this prolific series. It's been a busy year, but a ton of fun. And we're always looking for new interlocutors to take this challenge. And for this debate, specifically, evolution is on trial. Ken Rock and Kent Hovind, thank you so much for being here. And before we get into opening arguments, let's do as we typically do and kind of break the ice a little bit, get to know you gentlemen a bit before we get started. Just real brief introductions. Ken Rock, why don't we start with you? Ken, how you been? A little bit about yourself and a little bit about your channel.
Okay, hello everybody. My name is Kenneth Jonathan Rock. Obviously, I run the channel Ken Rock. You can find me here on YouTube. You can also find my Discord on my Discord link, obviously. I usually do power scaling, narrative arguments, and stuff like that within my YouTube channel. I'm getting into what ifs as well as of recently, so if you enjoy those things, go check it out. I just did a debunk on Rock Lee versus Sasuke. So yeah, that's me. I've been good.
All right, Ken, thank you so much for that introduction. Now over to Kent. Kent, how are you today? And a little bit about yourself, brother.
Well, thank you. I'm good. God's been really good. Some of God's kids drive me crazy, but God is good. We're in Lenox, Alabama, straight north of Pensacola. We have visitors coming from all over the world to see this place. We have a YouTube channel, Kent Hovind Official. If people want to go there, we have over 2,000 videos up and about 100 short videos on science and the Bible. We believe the Bible is true and God should get the glory for his creation. So if you look for Lenox on a map, good luck finding it. Zoom in real close. But we're straight north of Pensacola, right across the interstate. We have a science center, a museum, 140 acres, and it's just an amazing place here. And it's free. Come on down. Come see all the cool science experiments. We just want to teach the whole world. God made the world, and he wrote a book and told us about it. It's called the Bible, and it's exactly scientifically accurate. The Earth is not billions of years old. We think evolution theory is dumb. We'll talk about that more tonight. Go ahead.
Okay, appreciate it. Dr. Hovind, thank you so much. And Ken and Kent, both of you, thank you for the introduction. So tonight we're going to be a little bit more free-flowing. So we'll have Ken Rock. He'll give up to 10 minutes for his opening arguments. We'll do the same for Kent. We'll just say equal time on both sides for openings. And then we're just going to get right into it. We're going to discuss each point and each topic one at a time. And while the discussion is going on, to the audience, we'll be taking your questions. I'll be saving them. Just make sure you're tagging me at Standing for Truth, and then that way I won't miss them. So with that being said, let's get into the fun. Ken Rock, we're going to give you the floor. And again, let's say up to 10 minutes, but take whatever you need in terms of that time limit. So here we go. Let's unmute you. And if you need to share a screen or anything like that as well, just let me know. Oh, Ken, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I thought I heard you say you were going to mute me. Oh, it's all good. It's all good. I'm just messing around. Let me 1 second. Let me just pull up this quick as quick will be. Apparently quick isn't quick enough. Okay. I'll just try and pull up my screen, my things as they're asked for. But I think the first thing that we need to get into for this debate, obviously, is what is the definition of evolution? Nope, we tested this before, and now my stuff don't want to work. Okay. So the baseline of evolution, which we're arguing in this debate, will be that creatures and animals can change over a period of time, or they can change or adapt as time goes on. Two of the major points that I would look at as ways to prove that this is something that has happened and can happen is one, the fossil record is definitely a good way to look at this. when you look at it, you can see that animals have certain qualities too that they have that were clearly passed down and developed over time. A good example of this is, and I mean, I'm going to come back to this just because I feel like it's best for it to come full circle, considering the 3 debates. The whale, when you look at its flippers and all that, you actually see that it has hand bones in it. This is important because hand bones themselves are actually pretty useless in the water because it allows water to get through, obviously, your fingers. The more area you have, the more water you can push. Obviously, the better you can push. Obviously, they got around this via developing flaps and then a full-on flipper. But when you look throughout the actual line of the whale, you see that they did come from creatures that had full-on hands and all that slowly developed in that way. If you look at animals that are also closely related to the whale, you also see that as well, like dolphins, narwhals. I think technically sharks have it, but I would have to get back to you on that one. Another way to look at it, if you don't like the flipper, all that, you can also see that dolphins, which again, as I've already proven, are actually related to whales, have the ability to, every once in a while, they'll develop a back flipper. And that's important because the back flipper, without any reason, would form similarly to the front flipper, which means they would have the same hand structure and all that, which would prove, even if you don't like the front flipper idea, that they would also have the back legs as well, which would develop obviously similarly and then just slowly go away, since legs obviously would cause more drag than they really need. Another way to look at the whales to prove this is when you look at their nose, not their nose, their blowholes. You see that they have the obviously the ability to bring in air. They have to come up to get that. But when you look at the actual skeleton itself, it has 2 holes connecting to the one blowhole. Of course, my slides decided to work. No, but what else was I going to say?
Ken, I'm just going to stop the timer right there. I think when you clicked share screen,
I never clicked share screen. I just pulled up my things to try and get it to work. But why did it stop something?
Oh, so you didn't even get to the share screen part. You're just your PowerPoints wouldn't even open. You're saying
they opened, but I think because I'm trying to do this as well, I finally got it open, but I think it just kind of lagged for a second. Why do I need to repeat something?
No, because I noticed whenever you're doing something on your computer, your mic starts to get a little staticky and choppy. It's good now, but whatever you were fiddling around with there made your audio go choppy, and the audience wanted me to say something. So, anyways, I'll start your timer, and we'll go from there. Go ahead.
I think I actually got it. So let's try this now. Let's see if this works. Oops. Okay, tell me if this works, Donnie. I think I finally fixed my problem. Oh. And it all closed. Never mind, ignore that. We'll ignore this for now. Just ignore that.
Maybe a few more beneficial mutations to your system there, Ken, will evolve.
Maybe. I thought we had this figured out.
Get your PowerPoint slides working. Okay, Ken, I had your timer paused again, but we'll get it going.
No, it's fine. I'll ignore that. I'll just continue my points without it. I thought we had this fixed out because it worked that one time, but I guess not. Another good line of evidence. Actually, I think all my points right now are on the whale. So just go over to Kent for now, and I'll come back to me when I got my thoughts all back together. And I think I broke SteamYard.
All right. Kent, over to you. Looks like we've got 1 point on the table, which works out fine, Ken. No worries. Kent, we'll hand it over to you, brother.
I was playing around with something different and not quite ready. Give me 10 seconds here.
No rush, no rush.
72. Okay, there we go. Alt DV, moving to enter. Okay. Well, thank you. It's good to be here. I believe the Bible is true. Textbooks will say something like Ken said, about the whales are evidence for evolution. There are 90 species of whales so far. Of course, who's making up these? Who decides what's a new species? It's humans. I don't think the whales are deciding this at all. They don't care. They figure out which one they want to mate with, and they ignore the rest of the world. Okay. The whales seem to show no interest whatsoever in the seals, other than maybe to eat them. Okay. So people say, what's a kind? The Bible says they're always going to bring forth after their kind. Well, the animals know what the same kind is. Our dogs don't show any interest at all in mating with the pine trees or the squirrels. They want another dog, okay? The cows make baby cows, and the goats make baby goats. There are no exceptions. But man has decided to try to classify all these things, and we've divided whales up into 90 different species. Each has distinctive features. The killer whale genome, the genes that make the code to make the new baby for the next generation, has 2.2 billion nucleotide bases. If you think 2.2 billion bits of information got together by chance over billions of years, you're insane, certifiably insane. They need to get you a long sleeve coat that ties in the back and put you in a rubber room, okay? No, the whale was designed by God. God created the whales. It specifically mentions them in the Bible several times. So there are 90 different kinds of whales. Biggest one can weigh up to 400,000 pounds. And if you believe all the whales in the world came from a dot smaller than a proton, you're really insane. Okay, that's what the evolution theory teaches. Everything in the universe, not just the whales, but the ocean that holds them, and the earth that holds the ocean, and all the suns, stars, moons, planets, the whole universe, fit in a dot smaller than a proton, or the size of a proton. That's so insane. I can't imagine a grown man would believe such a thing, but they do. Okay, whales weigh as much as 33 elephants. Okay, the big whales. 98 feet long is the big one. Their heart weighs 400 pounds. There's nothing about the whale that's bad design. Evolutionists are always looking for something that looks like that's designed poorly, therefore it must have evolved, or therefore it doesn't need that. The whale uses everything it has. Let's see. Dwarf sperm whale is the smallest of whales, about 7 feet long. There are 126 species of pine trees. They might have had a common ancestor called a pine tree. And the pine pollen will not fertilize an oak tree or a goat or a cow. It only fertilizes other pine trees. There are small pine cones and big pine cones. Some really big ones. But they're still a pine tree. Pine tree is the longest genome ever sequenced. 23 billion base pairs for a pine tree. That's a lot of information. Now, Ken, do you or any of the atheists watching this channel, do you really believe the genome from a pine tree with 23 billion base pairs happened by chance? You don't think anybody wrote that code? That's like me saying the code for Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, for all the computer programs all the computer programs in the world happened by chance. That's insane. I got in Boy Scouts got the merit badge for signaling, and you had to use Morse code. I studied the Morse code, got pretty fast at it, and I had a ham radio thing for quite a while. That's a code with which you send a message through the air. Well, the whale is sending the code to the next generation of how that baby whale should grow, skeletal system, nervous system, reproductive system, integumentary system, the whole muscular system, digestive system. All that's in that code of 23 billion base pairs. That's to make a pine tree. And it sends that information on through a piece of pollen that looks like a speck of dust on your windshield. That really happened? Happened by chance? You can't be serious. All conifers have 12 chromosomes, but they're extremely large. Wow. Chromosome number for plants, 24 for a pine tree, 44 for a killer whale, 446 for a butterfly. Humans only have 46. So let's see. The butterfly is 10 times more complicated than a human. There's a lot of different kinds of pine trees in the world. Nobody argues about that. But they might have come from a common ancestor. They might have diversified due to natural selection to be what we would consider a new species of pine tree. Again, I don't think the pine tree cares how we classify it. But sure, there are a lot of kinds. If you think all the pine trees, variations in the pine trees, or variations in the whales, and there certainly are 90 kinds of whales by our count, you think that is enough information to make you believe pine trees and whales are related. They put these charts in the textbooks for the kids to learn and say, yes, boys and girls, look at this tree of life. Everything came from an amoeba, slowly up to a whale and a pine tree. I don't have words to explain how dumb that is to believe these trees they put in the book. Do textbooks teach our students that pine tree and whale is related? Yes, they do. There's the whale, there's the pine tree coming from a common ancestor. Look at that. I think that is, it sounds ridiculous because it is ridiculous. The whale does not have a common ancestor with anything other than whales. The Bible says they'll bring forth after their kind. But they show, oh no, the dragonfly and the whale have a common ancestor. And look at this, the humans and the birds and the sharks and the ladybugs and the pine trees, well, it's oak tree, and the worms all have a common ancestor. I think this theory of evolution is not only extremely stupid, it's completely unscientific, and it's dangerous. We're teaching the kid they're an animal, and then we're wondering, why do they act like animals? Duh. Evolution is based on nothing but pure SpongeBob imagination, that pine trees and humans have a common ancestor. Oh, and there's the whale, the fish. No, that's I believe that's a whale. It's hard to tell, my eyesight. So I would ask Ken, do you believe that these charts are true and that you share a common ancestor with a whale? Do you believe you're related to a whale? Simple question. I've got folks to admit they're related to a ladybug, they're related to a snail, they're related to a starfish. Ken, your turn. Do you believe you're related to a whale? Give you all the time you want, billions, trillions, quadrillions of years. Yes, just a yes or no. Are you related to a whale? Go ahead, your turn.
I believe that I have a common ancestor that connects my relations to that of a whale. I am not directly related to a whale. My brother is not a whale.
Your fourth, fifth, that would be far distant cousin, though, is a whale, right?
No, much further than that.
Much further than that. Okay. 10 billion generations.
Keep going.
Cousin. Keep going. Okay. All right.
Mind if I ask my question real fast? So you
actually,
said
let's do this, Ken. Actually, Ken, let's do this just because from what I had on the timer, you used about 4 minutes of your opening statement. If you wanted to take a couple minutes here to kind of lay out a couple more thoughts.
I do a lot better when I actually do it more free roam. I'm sure you've noticed where I can throw out one idea that we can just build off that for a little bit.
Let's do it. I just wanted to make sure that you felt like.
No, you're fine. I just would rather not have the audience to sit here, see me looking like an idiot for a little bit while I know I can do better in a different style, you know?
Okay, let's do it. So Ken, since Kent just ended with his opening statement, made up a few responses to the whale evolution argument, let's allow you to have the first question and pick the first topic. Here we go, gentlemen. Okay. Go ahead.
So first, you made a weird claim there, which I do want to ask about. So you said that evolution teaches singular theory. Is that what you said?
Donnie, I'm only getting about a third of his words. What evolution is a theory? I don't call it a theory. It's a religion.
No, I'm saying, did you make the claim that evolution teaches Big Bang theory?
I didn't hear one of the words. Teaches a what theory?
Big Bang theory. Did you say, Ken?
Oh, well, the evolution theory requires a beginning. Where did times? They don't like this at all, and I'm sure you don't either. But
well, no, because let me stop you right there. I've already admitted multiple times that I believe there's a God.
Well, yes. The Big Bang theory is an essential part of the evolution theory, but they don't like me to say that. And I know you won't like that either. But you have to start with matter, time, and space.
Why?
Guys want to start with living things and then explain evolution. you want to skip these first 4 stages of evolution, and I know why. Because they're not common sense, they're not science. So if you would like to just start with, let's assume time, space, matter just existed. We don't know where from. And all the elements existed. Gold, silver, platinum, all came from hydrogen. You want to skip that part. I think it's a serious step you can't explain. But okay, I'll let you skip it. Then how?
Well, no, let me address real fast. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but that's a big thing there, because that'd be like saying I need to know how to completely grow a garden in order to make a salad.
Well, if you're going to teach that it's scientifically accurate, that you know the whales and humans are related, and that I have a right to say, I don't think that is scientific, I think that's your religion, because there's no scientific evidence of a whale ever producing other than a baby whale. Science is what we can observe, study, and test. We never observe whales produce anything other than baby whales. We never observe humans produce anything other than baby humans. You believe, capital B, believe, that the whale and the human are related. That's why I simply object to you calling it science. It's nonsense. It's a religious belief. You're welcome to keep your religion, but you're not welcome to put it in our public schools and make everybody pay to have it taught. Evolution is nothing but a religion. You believe humans and whales are related. That's fine. Believe what you want. But my point stands. I think the family trees they show in the textbooks are pure religion. Nobody's ever seen a bird produce a non-bird, a reptile produce a non-reptile, a ladybug produce a non-ladybug. Nobody's ever observed this. They can't even make it happen in the laboratory. Try to make a ladybug do anything other than make another baby ladybug. They say it came from an amoeba. And the guys argue about the law of monophyly. It's always going to stay in its phylum, or in its same kind. Well, yeah. Well, how did the amoeba get out of how did it violate the law of monophyly? How did that amoeba become a whale?
Sorry, repeat that last part. How did what?
The evolutionists always say, well, of course, cows produce cows. That's the law of monophyly. Okay. Why didn't the amoeba follow that law? How did the amoeba eventually, over millions of generations, produce a whale and a ladybug?
By slight changes to what it is, until it was not necessarily it, but it was slightly something else over and 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 over again.
So
you did make a fun claim there, though. You said that whales only give birth to whales.
Has anybody ever observed a whale produce a non-whale baby?
Or dolphins whales?
No.
Dolphins and whales can mate.
Dolphins what?
Dolphins and whales can make babies.
Dolphins and... I'd have to see evidence for that. So if a dolphin and a whale can mate and produce a viable offspring, that also can produce babies. Is it a dead end? Is it a sterile offspring? I don't know. I've never... Write that down, Randy. Search for that.
I don't think they can, but you said that they can only mate. That because one of your definitions for it is that they can only mate with their kind, and if they can make a baby, then they can technically mate.
Yeah, I don't think they care where we classify them, okay? But I would guarantee you can go to the ocean and the dolphins show no interest whatsoever in mating with the crabs or the seagulls. Can they mate with a killer whale, a false killer whale? That's a good question. I'll do some research on that. I don't know if they're the same kind or not, but I think a dolphin and a pine tree are not the same kind. Now that I'd bet you $5 on.
And if I remember correctly, sharks and whales can also do the same thing.
Okay. Dolphin and whale. I will bet that. A whalpin. You're right. A dolphin. Yeah. Okay. Does that, in your mind, is that enough evidence for you to believe that the dolphin and the human had a common ancestor because of that example you just gave? Is that enough evidence to convince you?
It gives me the proof that whales at some point would have been able to. It's a step closer to proving that whales would have been on land, which would have proven that animals can go from one area of living to another without any problems.
Okay, so you're claiming that whales used to live on land?
No, it's one of these steps to get it closer to proving that they could have, and that they were able to migrate, which they would only be able to do if they could evolve.
So dolphins and whales can mate and produce a whalpin. Okay, let's assume that's true, and it may be true. I think I remember seeing something about that. I might have a slide on that somewhere out of my 50,000 slides. But so that's enough evidence to demonstrate that it goes beyond that to whales coming eventually over billions of years from an amoeba. Is that correct?
No, but again, what I'm trying to prove right now is that animals can adapt and change and live in different environments from what they were able to before. So basically showing that they are able to adapt. It's a small step improving.
Yeah. Animals
real
can
fast,
adapt.
I just want to make sure. Can you guys hear any of that in the background?
I didn't hear.
No, you're good, Ken.
Okay.
Okay. I agree animals can adapt to their environment, but the adaptations have limits.
What are the limits and why?
Well, I think science deals with what we can observe and study and test and demonstrate. Let's try raising any creature you want. They've done tons of experiments with mice. Is there a limit to how big they can get?
I don't think
you think
so.
Will you ever get a mouse as big as an elephant?
It's not impossible. I don't see why.
You don't see why? Okay, I think it's impossible. I think
Why?
there's a genetic limit. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Well, would you ever get a mouse as big as Texas?
Under the right circumstances, I'm sure that's not impossible.
You sure it is possible?
Under the right circumstances.
Under the right circumstances, you could get a mouse as big as Texas, okay? They've been trying, let's take dogs, everybody's more familiar with that. They have big dogs and little dogs. They purposely try to breed them to get smaller or bigger or whatever. And after all kinds of experimentation and human intervention, they've now developed 300 and some species of dogs, okay? They try to get bigger dogs or smaller dogs. My wife has a pug, completely useless and dumb as a box of rocks, but she likes it, okay? So do you think that's pretty small? They have a toy chihuahua. Do you think they'll ever get a dog as small as a flea?
Sorry about that. Yeah, maybe under the right circumstances, and if the pressures allowed it, yeah, I see no reason why it wouldn't. Are you saying they can't? Is that a claim you're making?
I'm saying if you wish to believe that, that's fine, but that would be a belief that's not scientifically observable.
Well, here's the problem, Kent. You're making a claim, and claims have to be backed up. So if you're claiming that there is a limit, you'd have to prove it.
I claim that all the experiments with dogs over the human history, all of human history, all the dogs have produced babies that were dogs. All of them. I'll make a claim. Every dog ever in history has produced baby dogs. Man has selected smaller ones and bigger ones. I claim that all through history demonstrates there seems to be a limit. They now have the Great Dane, pretty good sized dog. I predict they will never get a dog as big as an elephant, let alone as big as Texas. Now you can believe that if you wish, but that's not science. Science, what we can observe, study, test. There's a limit. Cows can jump. There's a rodeo in Texas where they ride cows and jump them. I got a video of a cow jumping over a 6-foot fence. Okay? Does that mean the cow could someday jump over the moon if we gave it enough vitamins? Is there a limit to cow jumping at all? Or is 6 foot, that's the current record? Why not over the moon? Why not 2,223 miles, 223,000 miles, whatever it is, depends on apogee or perigee.
So one of the things you could do to help out with this problem, so let's say you took a cow. What is the biggest planet currently? Saturn, I think. If you take a cow and put it on Saturn, and it somehow manages to survive up there, its muscles and all that will become massively stronger, and it would become a bit shorter. But when you brought it here, it would be able to jump easily, let's say 20 times higher than what the cow now could.
So you think if a cow lived on Saturn where it had stronger gravity and had to work out more, well, we could put weights on its back and do the same thing right here, a lot cheaper than taking it up to Saturn. But if we put weights on the cow, take him to the gym, make him work out, and give him lots of vitamins, so someday the cow could jump 20 times higher?
No, because you wouldn't be able to get to the same level of force on Saturn.
Right. Well, my point is, and I've never had an evolutionist even understand this, let alone admit it. Yes, we see varieties, but they're limited. There are 4,000 varieties of potatoes now. They're still a potato. Man has developed potatoes that grow in sandy soil, wet soil, damp soil, hot climate, cold climate. It's always a potato. They've got 335 or 39 breeds of dogs in America, Kennel Association, plus all the half-breeds in between. They're still dog. There seems to be a limit. God said 20-some times in the first few chapters of the Bible, they will always bring forth after their kind. Do you know of any examples I can go look at where any animal brought forth a baby that was anybody would consider a different kind? Has any dog ever produced a non-dog?
You've admitted that that dolphins are different than whales, so the fact that they're able to mate and bring forth a baby would be a different kind.
Dolphin and whale might already start off as the same kind. They, swim through the water, horizontal fluke, vertical fin on the back, air breathing nostril in the back of the head. Maybe they are the same kind in biblical classification. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think the animals care where we classify them. But the fact that man has decided to make a separate category for dolphins and whales, again, I don't think that impresses the animals. But if they can interbreed, maybe they are the same kind. However, that is not evidence that whales and pine trees are the same kind. Your charts in the textbooks that you think we should teach to the kids show the whale related to the ladybug and the pine tree. And you yourself said you have a far distant relationship to a whale, common ancestor. I'm saying this isn't science. This is your religion. Ken, you should just simply admit, I believe in evolution. Don't call it science. It's not science. You guys are polluting good science with your dumb religion and wasting a lot of classroom time doing so.
I'm going to say this real fast while I'm thinking about it. I am sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you a few times there. So first off, sorry about that. What was I going to say?
Ken, I don't know if it's my old age hearing or your lack of enunciation, but I'm not understanding all you're saying. Please talk clearly and slowly and loudly for this old man, okay?
No, yeah. I just said I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you those few times about that.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Better at that. What was I? Shoot, I completely forgot what I was going to say.
That's okay. You have a good point. I will check and see if dolphins and whales can mate and produce a offspring that can also go on and produce another offspring. Can whalpins mate? Somebody Google that. Can whalpins mate and produce babies? That's a good question. The lions and tigers.
I just remembered. So
actually, Ken, just for clarification purposes, did you say earlier that whales and sharks can interbreed?
If I remember correctly, but don't quote me on that. I said if I remember correctly.
I'd definitely like to see that one.
I'll send you what I can find directly. I don't want to start messing around with anything because I don't want to ruin this setup, obviously, because apparently it's still in development with me. So I am apologize for that as well to the audience. I thought I could make this better, but apparently.
Okay, Ken, if you want to make your next argument for evolution tonight, evolution is on trial, and then we'll engage that.
Before that, I wanted to tackle one last thing that was said there a second ago. So you said the animals don't care what we classify them as, correctly?
The animals don't care how we classify them. They select their own kind. We have on our north pasture zebus, miniature cows, llamas, alpacas, sheep, and donkeys. The llamas show no interest whatsoever in the sheep as far as mating with them. None. They pick out another llama. Llamas, they look for them. They seem to know what kind they are better than we do. So yes, I don't think there's any examples in history, recorded history, scientific observation of any animal producing a baby other than the same kind. Would a whalpin be considered the same kind? I don't know. Good question. I will do research on that. And thank you for bringing that up. I'll be ready next time.
To be fair, and this is one that I think I brought up to Donnie as well, but I could be wrong. So the big problem with that argument is you are, and I know you are aware of this, but God gave humans the right to name and classify the animals.
Correct.
So it wouldn't matter if they care because we have that right.
Right, but as far as claiming that they're all related, that becomes a whole different story. God, the same God also said in the same book of Genesis that they will always bring forth after their kind. My observation is we got 400 breeds of cows now. They're still cow.
Okay.
Has anybody ever seen a cow produce a non-cow? They've selected them to give more milk, the dairy breeds, the beef breeds, no question. They're still a cow. But you guys want to put them on a chart with a family tree where the cow and a ladybug have a common ancestor. I just wish you guys would just admit, you're right, Ken, this isn't science. This is what I believe. You cannot demonstrate this happening. You make a chart, the kids are going to believe it in kindergarten. That's where you start brainwashing them. It's indoctrination, is all it is. It's not science.
Is everything good? Donnie, move?
Yeah, go ahead if you want to make your next.
No, I mean,
argument.
everything froze up for a second, but I couldn't tell if that was on me or not.
No, everything's good, Ken. Go ahead.
It's Kent okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. You want to go another question, Donnie? Or
Well, no,
Yeah.
I'm just concerned because your screen keeps completely freezing on my end. So I don't know if that's on me or if it's just like right now he's not moving and I hear it's like he's become a robot kind of.
Well,
So
his screen, his screen does get intermittently laggy. But Kent, if you want to say something, brother, and let's just make sure your audio is coming through, then we can continue.
Okay. Sorry.
okay, next question, Donnie.
Oh, okay. Let's Ken, let's have you bring up the next argument, and then we'll keep our fingers crossed that Kent's audio comes through good. But
Well, I would do that, but I don't want to take the risk that he can't hear us. I mean, I can if you think it's fine.
Yeah.
but-
What's your next evidence why you believe in evolution?
Okay, never mind. You can hear me. Oh, so I noticed that while going through that thing, you had nothing against the idea that whales have the backbone and all, not backbone, the back legs and the feet and all that. So you're okay with that line of evidence, right?
Sharks cannot reproduce with whales.
Okay. Okay, well, let me just read that to you. Ken, while we're waiting, one of my guys found from Wikipedia, however much you trust Wikipedia, a whalpin. The whalpin, cross between a whale and a dolphin, is an extremely rare cetacean hybrid born from a whale and a dolphin. One of them, give a big, long Alaskan name, proved fertile when she gave birth at a very young age. Can a whalpin reproduce? This is believed to be the first hybrid between these two species, although a number of whalpins have been born in captivity. Few have gone on to thrive and reproduce themselves. So whale and dolphin, I'll put together a whole bunch more research on that. Great, excellent question. I think you need a whole lot more than that, though, to convince me that a ladybug and a whale are related.
No, but thank you for that. I actually didn't know that stuff myself, but so I actually had asked the question. So you had nothing against my proof that whales would have came from land mammals, would you? Did you? Because I didn't hear anything on that.
Well, if you believe whales came from something on land, the burden of proof is on you to demonstrate that. All we've ever seen is whales live in the water. There are no whales living on land. There are no whales going, or no animals going from land to water and becoming whales. So again, it's a belief. It's a religious belief. It's not science. You can believe all that stuff that you want. I'm just saying, great, but keep it in your private school or your home. It's not observable science. Whales, you can claim whales came from something on land. Where's the evidence for that? Nobody sees it happening today. They seem to be doing fine in the water.
Well, okay. So I'll go over my reasoning for why they came from land animals and all that. So when you look at creatures that are on land and all that, you see obviously the basic wrist, hand, finger bone structures.
Okay.
I don't need to tell you why this is useful for stuff on land and all that, even with stuff like cows and all that. You have I'm sorry.
The reason they have similar structure with the carpals, metacarpals, phalanges, and radius, ulna, humor, etc., humerus, is because they have the same designer.
Well,
I agree they have similar structures. I agree with that. I think it's a great design that works. The whale has to be able to maneuver and manipulate his flipper as he swims to push more one way or the other. That's how he steers and swims and goes up and down. And they use their flippers like hands, but they also can swim through the water amazingly fast. I think they're designed to do exactly what they do, swim in the water. And so you can believe that the similarity proves a relationship, but that would not be science. I could demonstrate. I could say the similarity proves the common designer. You can claim it proves a common ancestor. We can both make claims. All we've ever seen is
that's fair. Let's circle back to the common designer because I actually do have an argument for that. But so basically, what I'm trying to say is, like I said earlier at the intro, there is no reason for them to have fingers and all that because they're practically useless. It would be more useful for them to have one big bone in that to get more water out of the air, out of their way.
Well, that's your belief. I think if the way you ask the whales, they'd say they like it just like they are. I think the whales do have to flex their fins, their flipper, and curve it more, straighten it out more. There's just like aerodynamics, the curve of the wing, there's a hydrodynamics as they swim. I think you're dreaming if you think the whale would be better off with one big bone as a stiff paddle. I think you're greatly limiting. You're assuming something that you cannot possibly prove. The whale does have lots of bones in his flippers, and they're very similar to our hand bones. Same God designed them, and they have to do similar things. Ask a whale expert, do the whale's flippers ever bend or curve or twist or contort as they swim? I think they'd all say, yeah, they do. They have to. It's actually more efficient, the design way it is.
So you think, and I'm not trying to straw man here. So are you saying that the individual fingers instead of one big bone is better for moving water out of the way? Because we do know that the one paddle would be able to move more water and would theoretically then be able to move it further because it'd be moving more water.
No, the amount of water they move would not change at all if they have the whole thing surrounded by the flipper, whether it's one single bone in there or 20 bones. It wouldn't matter as far as the amount of water they're moving. That's a simple surface area of the flipper compared to the speed at which they move it. Actually, probably being able to curve it slightly would make them move more water. They'd get less loss around the edges. I'm sure some hydrodynamic specialists can do a research on that and say, oh yeah, it's really better if they curve it, 2% or what. I don't know. I don't care. But you're assuming that they would be better off if it was differently. You're going back to the argument that it's poorly designed. Therefore, it didn't evolve. Or therefore, I'm sorry, poor design. This was Charles Darwin's argument. He thought the eyeball was poorly designed because the blood vessels are in front of the retina. So the light coming in blocks some of the red blood vessels block some of the light. He said the octopus had a much better eye. One guy debated an atheist. He said, oh, the octopus has a much better eye. His blood vessels are behind the retina. Well, he's assuming that he knows why God designed it that way. The truth of the matter is, the guy's name was Ed Buckner, an atheist in New York, I think, if I recall. But his argument was, because it's poorly designed, therefore it must have evolved. I said, well, Ed, the octopus eyes have the blood vessels behind the retina because they live in the water. Water blocks UV light. We live in the air. Air doesn't block much UV light. So our blood vessels in front of the retina block the UV light so that your eyes don't receive all that UV. If you put your blood vessels behind, you'd go blind. The UV light would destroy you. If you want to swap eyes with an octopus, go ahead, but that's not, you're going to be blind in a few days. So the octopus is designed for living underwater. The humans are designed for seeing with eyes above water.
Well,
so again, the whole argument of poor design.
I never said that the hand was poorly designed. I just said it could be better designed. There's a difference between the two arguments.
You think it could be better designed. I don't think the whale cares what you think, but the whale seems to do fine with it. Well, what if a whale was born with fewer bones in his flipper and more solid paddle and took over the population of all the whales because he was better designed? That's what evolution claims. Something comes along a little better than the rest of them die off, and this one takes over the population. It hasn't happened. The whales still have all them bones.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine what it would take for a bone to magically just fuse every finger together? It sounds awful.
I'm not talking about magic.
I didn't say magic.
I'm just pointing out.
Hold on, I didn't say magic.
Even you said magically fused together.
No, I said how painful it would be to fuse all the bones together. Sorry, is it a problem on my end? Can you hear me okay?
A Pomeranian. I didn't hear what he said. What now?
Donnie, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, you're fine, Ken. If you want to reiterate your last point, and then we'll let Kent respond. Go ahead, Ken.
Again, I'm not trying to be rude, Kent. I just want you to make sure you're getting my best point. And I'm not saying they're magically fused together. I'm saying, could you imagine how painful it would be for them to be fused together?
Well, that's pure imagination. We're not talking fairy tales here. We're talking real science. Whales make baby whales every time. But the textbooks teach whales used to walk around on land.
Except when they make
the evidence they use, they're talking about these bones right here. Los Angeles Museum of Natural History has a big whale skeleton hanging from the ceiling, and they have a sign about these bones right there and say, these bones right here are proof the whale used to walk on land. Well, they don't understand what they're for, apparently. They certainly shouldn't be talking about whale anatomy. Those bones are special muscles attached to those bones that allow the whales to reproduce. They got to make babies underwater in the dark with no arms, and they can't talk and say, scoot over, honey. This has everything to do with maneuvering their 15-foot penis and get into place to make a baby whale, okay? So if anybody says this is evidence for a whale walking on land because it has these bones in the pelvis, then they are completely ignorant of their whale anatomy. It's not a vestigial pelvis like this textbook calls it. As far as the whales, as far as anybody knows, the whales we find skeletons of that we know that are whales are the same as today. You can find a bone in the dirt and claim it's an ancestor, but you don't know that. But there's a lie, one of the lies in the textbooks. They teach that these bones are part of the whale's, it's losing of its vestigial structure. All the textbooks that I know, biology textbooks, teach this, that the whale came from a land animal to swimming in the water, like you said. And this is imagination. This is not science. I got a whole section on that on my video number 4, Lies in the Textbooks, if you want to get the whole video series. So anyway, but again, going from a bunch of bones in the flipper to a solid bone in the flipper is your evidence that that you're related to a whale yourself and that we all came from an amoeba. You're supposed to be providing tonight scientific evidence for evolution. Is that your best evidence? The whale flipper ought to be solid?
It would prove that creatures can have drastic changes to them, which would be a step towards proving evolution. Proving everything is related would be its own separate, different branch of evolution, to which I guess at some point you and I could go into separately by ourselves. But yeah, it definitely does help to prove evolution if something like that were to happen.
Well, Ken, let's say this. Okay, by evolution, if you mean universal common ancestry, what would be 1 or 2 lines of evidence that you would point to if somebody who was on the fence, who was skeptic, neither creation or evolution, asked you, Ken, what is a good line of evidence to show that? Let's go back to the original question that kicked off this debate that Kent asked. You and a whale are related through common ancestry. What would be a line of evidence you'd point to? Present that, and then we'll have Kent engage it.
So the best line of evidence I would use to try and prove that we're all related to specifically pine trees, or can I go with something else?
How about all life related?
See, again, that would be something I would need to have to prove, because you would have to prove each thing individually. There's no way to sit there and say everything's related because of this one thing. If I were to get that question, I would have to sit down and actually talk to them for periods at a time. If that makes sense. That'd be like asking me, how can let's think, the color yellow become the color blue, the color pink, the color red, and all that.
Okay, well, Ken, I'm just trying to get an argument from you. So let's just say all mammals then, you and dogs. What would be a line of evidence? Present that, and then we'll have Dr. Hovind engage it. Go ahead.
Okay, so the way I would prove for whales to dogs would be, once again, to prove that they can be on land. Point out the similarities that they have, such as they're both warm-blooded, they both give live birth, they both give milk. Basically, that would be my line of evidence.
Okay, thank you, Ken. And Dr. Hovind, over to you.
I would agree. All mammals, as maybe 1 or 2 exceptions, all mammals give milk and give live birth, and they're mammals. That's why we have decided to classify them in a category, a box we call mammals. Again, I don't think they care what we classify them as, but we decided to develop a system called the classification system: kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species, made up by Carolus Linnaeus. Okay. Again, the animals don't care. So it's true that dogs and whales both give milk, and both give live birth, and both have hair, both breathe oxygen or breathe air through they have a lung system. There are lots of similarities. So then now that brings us to a fork in the road. We look at the similarities. What does that mean? Does that mean they're related, or does that mean they have the same designer? I bet the Chevy pickup and the Cadillac probably have some similarities. They both have round wheels, both have a brake system, an air conditioning system. Wow. Therefore, they have a common designer. Same engineers are designing all the stuff that Chevy builds. That's not evidence that they evolved from each other. So you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing, Ken. You're seeing the similarities and coming to the wrong conclusion. This happens quite often in a court of law. The evidence is brought in, the jury looks at the evidence, and you got several conclusions. Did he do it or didn't he do it? Is he guilty or innocent? So you're seeing the evidence that I'm seeing, and I'm saying, wow, God, you're an amazing designer. The whale not only gives milk, it gives 2,000 pounds of milk every day to the baby, and it has to be able to squirt it out. It squirts it into the calf's, they call the baby whale a calf, squirts it into the calf's mouth. Well, how did that evolve? No other animals can do that I'm aware of. You have to suck it out of the mammary gland. So the whale squirts it out. So yes, there are similarities. Dogs have 4 legs with paws on the end. Whales don't have that. Whales swim up with their back moving up and down, and muscular motion to go. Plus, their nostril is on the back of their head. Dogs is on the front. You want to point out the differences between dogs and whales? There are millions of differences. So you're looking at the similarities and coming to the wrong conclusion. And if you're willing to face God and say, I believed in evolution because the whale and the dog both breathe air and both give milk, I think you're going to look awful silly. The textbooks teach, like I've got up on screen, all the forms of life today are descended from a common ancestor found in a population of primitive unicellular organisms. That my objection is the textbooks teach the kids they're related to a whale and a frog, and they came from a bacteria. Then it says no traces of those events remain. Well, if there's no traces, teacher, why do we put them on this tree like this? This one is connecting the whale and the human back to a bacteria. That's not science. So you're supposed to give evidence for evolution. Your evidence was the whale and the dog have similarities because they both give live birth and they both give milk. I'm saying, Your Honor, that's just as much evidence, actually more, for a common designer, because they're both amazingly designed. Just to be able to produce milk right on time. When the baby's born, the mother starts lactating. How did that happen? What if they lactated year-round? They wait, and the first milk they produce, the colostrum, is essential for certain things in the baby's immune system. How did that evolve? How does the mother know what kind of milk she's making, whether it's the first milk or the long-term milk? How does the mother control that? So for millions of years, they all died because they didn't produce the colostrum? How did the females even get the mammary glands? For millions of years, none of them had them, so they all died. Your theory is simply a religion, and I wish you could see it, Ken. I'd like to see you give your heart to the Lord and get saved and come to heaven and come down to Dinosaur Adventureland and take the tour. But you're determined to believe that this all happened by chance, and you think it's fair to teach that to all the kids. I don't. I think that's criminal to teach that lie to kids and call it science. Okay. Slam the button and like and subscribe. Oh.
There you go. It's that good of a debate. We want you to not just click it, we want you to slam it. Ken,
okay.
Dr. Hovind, appreciate the thorough response. Ken, did you have any rebuttals or anything like to challenge in terms of that response? Go ahead.
I have 2 that I think will be important here for that particularly. So you are pointing out that there are similarities, but you're pointing out that there's differences within that similarity. I don't know why that would be a problem. If evolution were to be true, you expect stuff to be evolved in the same way, but then go on to form other ways of doing it better to what they are. You also seem to keep saying, well, this is also proof for a common designer. But funnily enough, just because there's a common designer doesn't mean an intelligent designer and a common designer doesn't necessarily mean it cannot evolve. I'm going to slow down. Did you get all that?
I got about a third of that. Because there's a common designer doesn't mean it's canonical.
Okay. So one of the arguments I keep hearing you say is because there's a common designer / intelligent designer that it cannot evolve. But just because those things are there doesn't mean that they can't. Proof is stuff like cell phones, cars, and all that. You look at how they originally were back in the day, and you can see how they changed to become better to what they are now.
I would agree. Cell phones is a great example. They've gone from a huge old phone, it takes 2 hands to hold it against your ear, down to something, Probably putting your fingernail now. I don't know how small they get, but that's all because of very smart people designing things to make it work that way.
Yeah.
I think for God to make a whale that can produce sperm, and each sperm cell is so small you can't see it without a microscope, but it contains the entire code, well, half the code, to make a baby whale. And the code to make a whale is phenomenal. And it's all in that tiny sperm you can't even see without a microscope. That, I think, you talk about micro-sizing stuff, look at the sperm and the egg and their size containing all the code to make a whale. I think that's the designer. You ought to say, wow, what a smart designer. I think people should call whoever made the phone and say, man, you guys are smart. You did it. That's a great design. Thank you.
But what I'm saying, and I'm sorry, I'm just because I see the 3-minute warning, is just because it has an intelligent designer doesn't mean it couldn't have evolved. Because we've seen that we went to the two-handed cell phone that you've seen, all the way to the cell phone, and they used the models that they had at that time to get to this point. So they did get better over time, and it was because of an intelligent designer. So intelligent designer does not mean no evolution.
Right. The cell phone did not become smaller and more compact and more useful by itself. Didn't right. Somebody did it to it, right? And now,
yeah.
As far as does it? I think everything we see in living organisms and even in the planetary systems and non-living things is evidence of a designer. Now, does that prove it's the designer of the Bible? No, of course not. I believe it is, but I'm not asking my religion to be taught. You guys believe it's not the result of an intelligent designer; it's the result of blind chance.
No, I believe there is a designer, an intelligent designer, and I believe he did make the evolution happen. That's what I'm saying.
Well, why would I want to accuse God of being so dumb to have to use a process like that? We don't see evolution happening. We don't see any animal produce anything other than its kind. I think the designer was smart enough to say, these animals are going to be able to produce babies that can live in a variety of offsprings. If I was going to send kids off on a trip, I might send them with a sleeping bag to keep warm and an air conditioner in the car to keep cool. Wow, they do the opposite thing. Well, I don't know if they're going to hot climate or cold climate, but they can survive either place. So God gave his creatures the ability to produce babies that can have long hair, like the wolf, and survive in Alaska, or real short hair, like the dingo, and survive in Australia, long legs like the dingo, short legs. God designed, they're still a dog, but God designed the code to give some flexibility. There are now 400 species of cows because of that flexibility. Man has decided, oh, wow, that one gives more milk. Let's breed those and get a dairy breed. Oh, no, I want more beef. Okay, let's breed all the beefy ones. But they're still cow. So it was already gene code. They simply selected. They want to get faster horses to win the Kentucky Derby. Okay, well, why don't they put wings on their horse? What we see, Ken, is sure, wild variations happen, but they're limited. That's what you guys don't get. I agree, lots of variations happen. Cows produce cows, but they're still limited. They're limited how high they can jump. Let's see, everything we see in nature, not just the cows, breeds of cows, corn, 6 different types of corn, 200 varieties of wheat, okay, 4,000 varieties of potatoes. Lions and leopards can crossbreed. Interesting. Maybe there's still a cat. Maybe that's the same kind. I don't know if they had a common ancestor. Maybe God made 5 different kinds of cats originally. I don't know. But they can certainly crossbreed. They get tigons and ligers crossing them. Buffalo and bison can be crossbred to get a beefalo. Oh, maybe they're the same kind. But you guys want to take stuff like this, the sheep and the goat that were crossbred and got a geep. Therefore, we came from an amoeba and related to a pine tree. Here's the Walpin. Oh, yeah, I knew I had something on that. Maybe the killer whale, the false killer whale, and the bottlenose dolphin are the same kind. Could be. Camel and the llama can crossbreed. They don't normally, but they can make a cama. Okay. Jaguar can crossbreed with a lion. Wow, they're still a cat. I don't think that's violating what God said would happen. They bring forth after their kind. But you guys want to take stuff like this, the crossbreeds, and like the Walpin, and say, oh, everything's related to a pine tree and to amoeba. This is where you're just going wildly off of science into a religion. You believe these family trees, you don't see them happening. They show the kids the bacteria, amoeba, turned into all these creatures. We don't see that. They claim all the forms of life are related. That's a claim. It's not science. Science is what we observe, study, test, and demonstrate. Ken, you have a religion. You defend it, and that's fine, and you should. Everybody defends their religion. But I wish you guys would just admit evolution is not part of science. It's not observable. These trees they're fiction. Even if it was true, even if this family tree is true, it's never been observed. So it can't be part of science. Go ahead.
No, I think we've covered pretty much everything, especially since it looked like a while ago Donnie's wanted to go to questions, if I saw that banner correctly.
Sure.
Well, so if Donnie wants to stop, then we can go to conclusions.
I just wanted to make sure, because this was your round 3 endgame debate in terms of taking this challenge this year. So I wanted to make sure that you've presented all of the arguments or lines of evidence for evolution, and it looks like you have. So we can move into, let's do this, gentlemen. We're right at the hour mark. This leaves us with a solid, 25 minutes of questions. Then we'll wrap it up at the 90-minute mark. Let's do 3 to 5 minute closing statements. We're going to start with you, Ken. Wrap up your thoughts, wrap up your points. We'll do the same for Kent, roughly, up to 5 minutes, roughly. And go ahead, Ken, whenever you're ready.
Okay. So to wrap up my summary of this, I think one of the biggest things that would help, since we're arguing the definition of evolution, not necessarily if everything is related. So technically, those are two different debates. Kent did agree that whales and dolphins are able to mate, and by its own confession that they are two different animals. So we do know different animals are able to make other animals. I also do think I adequately proved that whales have the structures that would be seen within land animals, and that they wouldn't be something you would find in swimming creatures specifically. I also think one of the biggest things that I was able to prove was just because something has an intelligent designer doesn't necessarily mean that it can't evolve. If you look at your phone, you can see that there's definitely more evolved and more complex than, let's say, like phones that we would have seen 50 years ago. Same with like cars and stuff like that. I think one of the biggest problems that definitely needs to be disproven for that is the idea that what species and all that are, which I don't think was we didn't get a chance to really hit in here, but it doesn't seem like he was able to say that, well, just because animals are different, again, just like with the whale and all that they wouldn't be able to mate with other species to make new species, which again would be something that evolution would claim, is that new species can arise, which definitely proven with that, with minor changes and all that, with the human's God-given right to declare what an animal is. We can also now declare if an animal is different enough in a new species. That is my closure.
All right. Thank you very much there, Ken Rock, for your closing statement. Let me just wait till Kent gets back, since there's a couple more minutes for your 5-minute closing statement. So I'll give a couple shout outs. Tomorrow we'll be back here with the debate we've all been waiting for, been scheduled for 3 or 4 months currently. 2 powerhouses in the world of Protestantism and Catholicism. So Steve Christie from the Born Again RN channel will be taking on Dr. Robertson Jenis, and he's a very well-known Catholic apologist, been here a couple times before, debated Bob Wilkin and Kelly Powers. Tomorrow they debate the Marian Dogmas debate. So same time, kicks off at 8 o'clock. And all right, here we go. Thanks again, Ken Rock. And Kent, you've got 5 minutes, brother. Whenever you're ready, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you. The mind cannot absorb more than the bladder can endure. Okay, let's see. Let me find 263. Okay, Alt TV. There. The word evolution is a slippery word, and I think they've taken over our school system by default, by showing microevolution, which variations within the kind that happens, and then claiming it goes beyond that. And so far, Nobody's ever seen this. That's my point is, it's a religious belief that people really strongly believe in, and they think everybody should be forced to teach their religion. And it's nothing but a religious belief. I'll stick by that till I die. I want to find one thing. I was going to get a hyperlink in here and didn't get time. 109. Okay. What they're doing is peer-reviewed is how they've taken over with this phrase, peer-reviewed. What is peer-reviewed? Peer-reviewed process subjects an author's scholarly work or ideas to the scrutiny of others who are experts in the same field, his peers. It's considered necessary to ensure academic scientific quality. Peer review, designed to assess the validity, quality. Its ultimate purpose is to maintain integrity of science. I think I strongly disagree. I think it's to maintain the evolution religion. It's a protection of the evolution religion. I'll show you. What's an example of peer review? American Nurse Today peer reviews their articles. Iraqi books hit the international market for the first time since the war. They started publishing books in Iraq. Look at that. Publishing industry was damaged. So they sell the books on the street like this. Iraq. There you go. You can Google that yourself. Here they are selling books in Iraq. The unexplained fire burned down the store in 1999. Let's see. So relaunching the distribution of, some guy released a new catalog, 600 recent Iraqi titles published in the last 2 years. In Iraq, 600 books were published in 2 years. 300 books a year published in Iraq. In America, 600,000 to 1 million books published every year. Okay? European Union said individuals considered to have committed blasphemy or apostasy. This is from Iraq. They're concerned about this. They should be. Persons considered to have spoken sacrilegiously about God or Islam. What would happen if a person in Iraq today published a book that said, I don't think Muhammad was a prophet, I don't think Islam is the right religion? They would probably be killed. Okay? These articles that go in the Iraqi textbooks are peer-reviewed. You got to support Islam or it does not get published. Matter of fact, if you reject, here we go, affirms the right of non-Muslims to convert to Islam. You can convert to Islam, but you can't go the other way. It's against the law. People who convert from Islam to Christianity may be at risk of being killed. The convert will be disowned, receive death threats, or be killed. So this is peer-reviewed in Iraq. And all the Iraqis think this is fine to kill somebody who goes the other way and converts away from Islam. That's because their peers say it's fine. That's what happens in Iraq. What about North Korea? You got the guy with the funny haircut, okay? Reading is a popular pastime in North Korea. Let's see, as long as it passes the propaganda test, as long as it's peer-reviewed and doesn't make fun of the king over there. Let's see. North Korea's subsequent literature tradition is shaped and controlled by the state. I'm going to make a claim that the American textbooks used in American schools are peer-reviewed to preserve them from anything that goes against evolution. Evolution is a carefully protected state religion, nothing more. It's a religion. It's necessary for the plans toward those who would like a one-world government. That's why it's important. Watch my video number 5 for more on that. And that's why they put me in prison. When they came in and raided our place in Pensacola, they said, get every DVD number 5 you can find. They did not get the master. Still in our series. Watch that, okay? So the idea of peer-reviewed or all scientists believe in evolution is insane to begin with, and it wouldn't matter if they did. They have religious restrictions and political imperatives found in their way into literature, and this is in North Korea. Wow. He accompanied this by denouncing all things foreign in literature. So in his speech, he said, we have to get rid of anything that's against North Korean communism. Okay. It's called Juche, however you pronounce that. Ideological work. North Korea literature would have a nationalist, in other words, you cannot get it published if it doesn't promote the president of North Korea. They execute people in North Korea who go against their plans, okay? Now in America, teachers get fired for teaching creation in the schools, in public schools. They get fired for just having a Bible on their desk. Let's see. It's okay to have a Bible kept inside the teacher's desk for personal reading outside of school hours. Okay, wait a minute. Would it be okay for the public school teacher to have a model of the non-existent geologic column on their desk? Or have some skulls of Lucy on their desk? Would that be okay? Is it okay if they teach the evolution religion in public schools? Of course it is. But you let them teach the Bible, they're going to get fired. Creationist teacher in Ohio to be fired. Went all the way to the court. Oregon biology teacher fired because he referred to the Bible. Wow. Supreme Court rules justifying the teacher being fired for advocating religion in science classroom. Well, at least they're not shooting him yet. But there is a prejudice against creation in American schools because of guys like Ken and the other atheists and evolutionists that believe in evolution. They are protecting their state religion. I will make the claim tonight, evolution is a religion. It is a state-protected religion, nothing more. There is no scientific evidence for any animal ever producing anything other than its kind. And just like in Iraq, you will not get a peer-reviewed journal to publish an article about going against Islam. It's not going to happen. And in North Korea, you won't get one published in a peer-reviewed journal against the communism. And in American universities, you won't get a peer-reviewed university journal to publish an article denouncing evolution or advancing creation. No different than communism or Islam. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Dr. Hovind. Kent, they never got mine either, brother. Right here in front of the camera. They tried, but they just couldn't get it. Your DVD, what DVD is it? Number five.
Number 5.
Number 5.
Call 855 Big Dino. 855 Big Dino, extension 1. You want to order a set, $50, or go to drdino.com. Get my advertisement in there.
Awesome.
I would, but I'm poor.
What's that, Ken?
Honestly, I would, but I'm poor. So
send an address. We'll send you a set for free if you'll watch them. If you'll promise just simply to watch them, I'll send you one for free.
I'll make you that deal.
Here we go. You can't go wrong with that. That's your prize, Ken, for taking the Evolution Debate Challenge 3 times. Okay, great exchange, gentlemen. And we've got a ton of fantastic audience questions. So as I promised the audience today, we will do, we're going to get some good amount of questions in here. So I am going to go all the way back to the beginning with the first questions that came in. Kent, one of your best buddies here in the chat, Creationist Crybaby, coming at you. And CC asks, Kent, even you admitted to a limited natural selection. So why do you maintain that scientists say that evolution occurs by chance when it doesn't?
Well, natural selection is exactly what it says. Nature will select certain ones to survive. If I turned all the dogs in the world loose in Alaska, where it gets cold in the winter, many of those dogs we turn loose would not survive. The cold weather would select those designed for cold weather. The husky, the wolf with thick fur, long hair, they would survive. If I turned all the dogs in the world loose in the Sahara Desert, nature would select a certain slice of the dog population to survive, probably something more like a dingo, long legs, thin body, short hair, get rid of the heat quickly. So they didn't create a dog, it didn't create anything, it selected. Natural selection only selects. That's all it does. It's not a creative process. So I agree, natural selection works great, but it doesn't create anything. It just simply selects, okay? Why do you maintain scientists say evolution occurs by chance? Well, evolution doesn't occur at all. We don't see it at all. But you believe by chance the amoeba turned to a whale over trillions of chances. It's just not science, that's all. So keep crying, crybaby. You are wrong, okay? There's no evidence for evolution at all. Nobody's ever seen an amoeba produce a non-amoeba. It's pure fantasy. SpongeBob, believe what you want, but quit calling it science.
All right, appreciate it there, Kent. And Ken, over to you for your response.
I mean, to be fair, I'll give you that we haven't ever seen an amoeba create a non-amoeba, but according to what we've just went through, you have admitted that we've seen a whale create a non-whale. Anyway, continue on.
Okay, Kent, was there any final words you wanted before we move on, brother?
Well, if that's enough evidence that the false killer whale and the dolphin created a baby, and that would make you think that an amoeba, that makes you believe these charts, let's say that an amoeba turned to a biology teacher, then I think you have taken a tiny bit of evidence that maybe you think might support your theory and really stretched it.
All right. Thank you.
If I take vitamins and can learn to run the quarter mile 1 second faster, eventually I could run it in 1 second, period. No, there's a limit how fast I can run, and it ain't that fast anymore. Okay.
Thank you, Kent. Okay, next question comes in from Born Again RN. This one is now for you, Ken. If evolution takes millions of years, how scientific is one asexual being evolving male sexual organs and another female sexual organ simultaneously to produce sexually reproducing organisms?
I'm going to ask you this, Donnie, just so I can make sure I'm understanding the question. So is the question asking me how would both those organs appear at the same time?
I believe so. How would both appear at the same time in order for there to be sexual reproduction, basically?
Well,
you'll need a male and a female with the appropriate structures and organs. That's my interpretation of it, at least.
No, I just wanted to make sure. I don't want to straw man the question, so I just figured I'd get the second opinion. Realistically, you could say that, and the way that I could see this happening is you had a creature that had both originally from the asexual, and then you had a set of them where the male became more stronger and the set where the female became more stronger. And while that became a thing, the males didn't need the females and the female didn't need the male parts. So they'd weaken off and then leave the gene pool. And that's how that would work.
All right. Appreciate the answer, Ken. And over to you, Kent, if you had a response.
Well, all the charts do show everything coming from a single-celled creature. And there are 20,000 different species of single-celled creatures, whether it be bacteria, amoeba, paramecium, etc. Okay? Most of them produce asexually, I believe. They simply split in half and make a new one. Some produce sexually, some can do both. So that is interesting. I think it's amazing design. But in the evolution religion, you have to, at some point, get them diversified into male and female. That's a great question. If the male evolved first, and the female didn't evolve till 10,000 years later, 500 miles away, I think we'd have a problem. I think they would have a problem, okay? They have to imagine that the male and female evolved at the same time in the same place and found an interest in each other. Just the attraction, where did that come from? And I'm doing a whole series on making babies, how different animals get stimulated. That's a whole other problem. The giraffe gets stimulated when he tastes her pee. He tastes her pee and says, whoa, that woman turns me on. I'm glad I'm not a giraffe, okay? So they all get stimulated different ways. This is such a giant problem for the atheist and evolutionist. I don't think they understand it. They just imagine that it happened. It must have happened because we're here. Each of the organs, the whole system to provide sexual reproduction is incredibly complicated with every life form that uses that method. So the single-celled amoeba, one cell, 670 trillion genomes in its base pairs in its genome. You think that happened by chance? I'm baffled. A lily, 90 trillion base pairs in its genome. That's the code to make a lily. So I think the question is legitimate. If this is a born-again RN, thank you for the question. I think the answer is it didn't evolve. It's impossible to evolve. Ken's question, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Ken. Ken, that's right. Question was originally for you. You can have the last word.
Okay. So to be fair, if we're saying that what I said and all that was just part of my imagination, then we'd also have to say, if we're being fair, that the scenario that you put up would also technically be a part of your imagination as well. We don't have to say that they had evolved 5,000 years apart and 100 miles away. And there's no reason to just naturally just assume that. I think the way that I described it is perfectly valid. There's no reason to say that it couldn't have happened like that. And it even makes sense as well. So go on.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question comes in from Taylor K. And also Taylor and her dad have sent in a super chat and a donation. Thank you so much for the support. God bless you. And question is for Ken. Ken, if all plants and animals share a common ancestor, does that mean that something from the animal kingdom gave birth to a plant or vice versa?
Neither. They would have evolved from something that would have been neither plant nor animal that had the properties and the capability of becoming both at a point in time.
Okay, thank you very much, Ken. And over to you, Dr. Hovind.
Well, there's no question the textbooks do teach plants and animals have a common ancestor, and insects and single-celled creatures. They teach they have a common ancestor. All the forms of life have a common ancestor. This is a religious belief. This has never been observed. That's my point all along. I've been preaching it for 20-some years. I'll keep going. 30 years now. It's just something they believe in. And I say, I don't care. You keep your religion, but quit making it mandatory for all the schools. This is no different than North Korea or Iraq or Soviet Union. It's a restriction of opposing ideas. Why don't you can either teach both or just ignore the topic of origins. You can learn all the biology and all the anatomy without having any reference to evolution at all. A kid can go to biology and here's how the reproductive system works. Here's how the bones and the muscles work. You got the deltoid and the biceps and the triceps, flexors, extenders, radius, ulna. You could learn all the anatomy and never refer to evolution at all. It's a completely useless theory and it's a waste of time. Nothing to do with biology or science at all. So keep it at home. Keep your religion at home. That's my point. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ken. Ken, you get the final word.
I would just move on.
Okay, thank you very much. Next one comes in from Whether or Not. $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Question is for Ken. If ape/human, I'm guessing evolution occurred, did thousands of differences occur at the same time or one at a time? With so many outside variables/pressures, could multiple things evolve simultaneously with such precision?
Oh, sorry. Did they? Okay, let's tackle this part by part real fast, though. So, did they occur at the same time or different times? Technically, both could be true, and there's no reason to say not. Some mutations could have evolved at the same time, with others being later. With so many variables / pressures, could multiple things evolve simultaneously? That's kind of the same question, but if you're asking, would that make different animals? Yes, we see that with gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans. So, yes. Am I misunderstanding the question, Donnie, or did I get that correctly? Again, just getting the second opinion.
Well, if you feel comfortable with that response, that's fine. He may be saying if there's, let's say, a couple 100 million differences between humans and the so-called, closest cousin, the chimpanzee, how did all those differences basically accumulate in, even according to evolutionary time, a short amount of time. But if you're comfortable, we'll move on and we can allow Kent, if you had a response at all. Kent, go ahead, brother.
Well, again, I would point out the textbooks do clearly teach you are a primate and we are related to the gibbons and the gorillas and the chimpanzees, etc. Someone's welcome to believe that, but that's not scientifically demonstrable. It's not science. There are many thousands of differences between these creatures. If they wish to believe that, we talked about the sexual organs. Well, the gorillas is 2 inches long. Maybe that explains why some of these guys want to try to claim they're a woman instead. That's another story. But there's thousands of differences. So I agree. It didn't evolve. It just didn't happen. Any similarities indicate same guy designed them. That's all. I don't have a problem worshiping God. Say, God, you're amazing. Thank God I'm not a gorilla. Praise God. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Ken. Ken, if you want a last word, go ahead.
No, I'm good. Let's go to the next question so we get as many as possible.
Okay, so next one comes in from Zach, short and sweet. Zach, thanks so much for the question. So question for Kent. I guess this has to do with the so-called vestigial pelvis that you gentlemen were discussing earlier and how it's utilized in reproduction. So Zach asks, why do baleen whales need the pelvis, but killer whales don't?
Well, I don't think I've ever said the baleen whales. I don't think any whales have a pelvis. They have bones right there, that muscles attached to them. It's a free-floating bone. You have a similar thing with your kneecap. It's free-floating. It's attached to be able to move around. hyoid bone in your throat, free floating, attached to by tendons and stuff like that. So I never said it had a pelvis. Textbooks call it the whale's pelvis, but that's imagination. Modern whale, let's see. So my point is that they don't understand, they're stupid about their whale anatomy, or they're lying, but those bones are not a vestigial pelvis. They're muscular muscles attached to them that allow the whales to reproduce. That's all there is to it. So I don't think the whales, I don't know if killer whales have the same bones or not. Good question. I'll see if I can find out. Do killer whales have these bones? Or do they require assistance by extra muscles and bones for reproduction? That's a good question. I'll check on that. Killer whales. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Kent. Kent, anything you'd like to add to it?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Kent, but they actually are pelvises. If you look at them, you actually see that certain whales, if you look at that bone specifically, have a ball and socket joint. The one that you have doesn't clearly, but you can find some that do. And if you look at that lower part, it would be what would be the shin bone. And just because it's used for the use of its penis right now doesn't mean that that's always what it was used for. In fact, I guarantee you, if you move your own hips, your penis will also wiggle. So, next. Give it to Kent.
Okay. And Kent, if you had a final word on that one, feel free to take it. Is your question?
These debates go everywhere. Okay. We have one of the bones, I should have brought it in from the whales right here, one of these reproductive organ bones in our museum here, Dinosaur Adventureland in Lenox, Alabama. You're saying it has a ball and socket, therefore it's a pelvis. Now, wait. If two bones are connected, but the whole system, both of them together, are still free floating, I don't think that qualifies as a pelvis. The whale cannot walk on land. The textbooks say, just imagine the whales walking on land. It's true. This is a book kids use in school. No, it's not true, teacher. The whale did not walk on land. This is imagination. We've never seen a whale produce a non-baby whale. It's not science. That's all. Keep your religion at home. I'll keep preaching that till I die, and then my videos go on forever after that. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Keeping it engaging and fun at the same time. So Ashley Myers, question for Kent Hovind. Because of genetic entropy or genetic degeneration, question from Ashley Myers, by the way, thank you, Ashley. How many years would it take to create enough mistakes to have the biodiversity found on the Earth today with rapid, it looks like some of it might have been cut off. It almost kind of seems like it's a question for Ken Rock, though. Would rapid speciation be a better explanation? If you had any thoughts, it does say it's for you, Ken. So if there was anything you wanted to say to that.
Well, yeah, I think the question has a built-in assumption. They're assuming that the biodiversity we see today is a result of genetic entropy. I think, no. The biodiversity we have on Earth today is a result of intelligent design. I think the Creator designed the dogs to produce a variety of offspring. If a dog has a litter of puppies today, aren't there varieties in the puppies? I mean, aren't some bigger than others and smaller, different colors, different, et cetera? Some take after the mom, some after the dad. So the biodiversity found in just about all life forms is an amazing design. To be sure, it'll survive in a different climate. I think a lot of car manufacturers put both a heater and an air conditioner in their car. Why would they do that? Well, they don't know if you're going to drive it in cold weather or warm weather. They want you to be able to have either one. Okay, so that's an example of thinking ahead. So I don't think the results of the biodiversity on Earth today is a result of, I don't think that biodiversity today is a result of mistakes. I think there have been plenty of mistakes in the gene code, no question. And many of the mistakes would have been weeded out were it not for human intervention. A lot of diseases that would have crippled or killed people, man intervenes with hospitals and nursing homes and stuff and keeps them alive, and I'm for that. But it does, sometimes defective genes are not weeded out. But none of them are improvements. They're all degenerative. So I don't think I think the question has a built-in false assumption, but I think the rapid speciation, I think after Noah's flood, the animals got off the ark and began producing babies, and some of the babies preferred the colder weather. They like that. Some people like living up north. I don't. I like Alabama. So some people prefer the hot weather. Some people prefer the variations could have happened very quickly. I'd say within a few hundred years of animals getting off the ark, they would have choose the place where you're comfortable and live there.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Kent, for that response. I prefer the hot weather, but I'm stuck here with cold weather, unfortunately. Ken, I'm going to move out there one of these days, Ken. Ken Rock, over to you if you had a response or if you wanted to move on, up to you.
I'm going to guess the answer is at least 7.
At least 7.
At least 7.
What?
I didn't have a real answer, so I figured I'd give a silly one to at least entertain people.
That's okay. Let's move on. We got Sea Science Film Labs. Question for both. Ken, we'll allow you to start with this one because Kent started with the previous one. So, question for both. If beneficial mutations are less common than mutations that cause genetic disorders, then how could mutation and time ever be an explanation for functional anatomy or evolutionary novelty? Ken, go ahead. We'll start with you.
I'm going to do the fun thing. I'm going to take a page out of Kent's last response. That assumes something. That assumes that mutations that are harmful in one scenario can't be helpful in another. I, for one, have a different way of looking at things. It's part of the way I was born, technically, and it makes it so I see stuff more creatively, which could be more beneficial in certain scenarios, but also less beneficial in others. So, yeah, that's my response.
Thank you, Ken. And Kent, over to you.
Well, to the question on the screen, I'd like to see a beneficial mutation. Plenty of mutations have been observed. What would one consider beneficial? Show me one. We have ducks here in our pond. 2 of them are mutant ducks. They have the feathers growing out one side of their head because the bones didn't grow together right in their skull. Okay, it's a mutation. It didn't help them any. It probably would be harmful, actually, another handle for an enemy to grab them by if they were going to get in a fight and get, hawk carry them off or something. But I don't think anybody's ever demonstrated a beneficial mutation. Show me one.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for your responses. And looks like we got a question here from Atheist Jr. for Dr. Dino.
Did I not get a last response to that one?
Well, it looked like it was a question for the both of you. So we both.
Oh no, that's fine. You gave me the question, so I was just confused. It's fine. We can move on. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right. So Atheist Jr. here asks, question for Kent. You that science is what we can observe. So I'm guessing you said that science is what we can observe. Since we did not observe the creation of the universe or Earth, shouldn't you remove the word science from creation science evangelism?
Well, science is what we observe and study and test and demonstrate. And what we've observed is design demands a designer. Everybody would agree. Nobody would think the ink pen came by chance. All we've ever observed is complex things, or even simple things, had a designer like this. So as far as the name of our organization, Creation Science Evangelism, I hope that bothers you deeply, Atheist Jr. Hope you lose sleep over it. I even have a cup. Dr. Dino. Dr. Kent, the science gent. That bothers them that I call myself doctor because I earned 3 doctor's degrees and have one in, but it's from non-accredited university. It wasn't peer reviewed. I don't care at all, not at all what you think, okay? Not at all. So hope it bothers you. Anyway, so yes, I'm not going to remove the word science from creation science. I think we should remove science from the word involving evolution. Nobody's ever seen anything that demonstrates evolution as scientific. It's a religion. Why don't you help me, Atheist Jr., if you really like science? Get the textbooks back to teaching science. Hey, kids, dogs produce dogs. And get these stupid family trees out of the textbooks. That's imagination. You're the one, including religion, in with science. That don't belong together at all. I'll debate you again anytime, Atheist Jr., anytime.
All right, appreciate it there, Kent. Ken Rock, anything you'd like to add?
It's definitely an interesting question, especially when you consider that there are people who believe that technically you can't prove anything is even real. So if we go by the definition of science you went by, then technically nothing is science. But more to the point, I guess technically that was the point. So we'll move on for the sake of time's sake.
Any final words on that one, Kent?
Well, the definition of science. Science is knowledge gained from using observations, experimentations to describe, explain the world around us. Okay. All we've ever seen is cows produce cows, dogs produce dogs. Nobody's ever seen evolution. We don't see these family trees or any part of it. It's a religious belief. They're welcome to it. but they should start admitting they have a religion of evolution and quit claiming it as part of science. Go ahead.
All right, guys, thanks so much. We'll get two more questions, one for each of you. So this one will be yours, Ken. This one comes in from Anthony, 1701. Ken, how do you determine who is correct between an evolutionist or creationist scientist when both have the same credentials?
How do I determine who's right? It depends on the subject. If you're talking about specifically on the concept of evolution, on evolution itself, I look at what is presented, what is logical, how many fallacies are being used within the arguments that are being used. It's basically the same way I would judge a debate. So as far as this, that would be it. Also, technically, again, as I've been saying multiple times, I both believe in creation and evolution. So realistically, they're both in some way right.
Yeah, let's say you had a biologist who held to creation or separate ancestry, which says not all life is related. Then you had an evolutionary biologist, same credentials, but he believed everything's related, whales and pine trees. So I think
I get it. Again, I would look at what was being said, what was being argued, and the evidence that's being given.
Okay. All right, I
I
appreciate it.
guess I could have said that better. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. You did good. Kent, anything you'd like to add?
Oh, it's a great question. I think there are many examples where scientists do have all the same credentials from accredited universities, but it goes back to the peer-reviewed thing I covered. What exactly does that mean? In America, the stuff just does not get published in journals and textbooks if it doesn't defend the religion of evolution. Just like in Iraq, you won't get a book published that goes against Islam. And in North Korea, you won't get a book published that goes against the Kim Jong-il, what's his name? So it's just not going to happen. And in America, they're claiming because, the Muslims in Iraq can claim Islam has to be true because nobody publishes books against it. That's their claim. Yeah, because you shoot them if they do. Okay. In America, they only fire them. So I think there are many cases where there have been debates where a completely qualified creationist and the same credentials from an evolutionist have a debate. Which one are you going to believe? Well, I think all the evidence points toward design demands a designer. Cows produce cows. I think I'm going to believe the Bible. It says they're going to bring forth after their kind. I think that's science. Now, am I demanding that be taught at everybody's expense? No. But I think that's where all the evidence leads. There's a designer.
Okay, thank you very much, Kent. Ken, you can have a quick final word if you'd like.
Yeah, no offense, Kent, but what you just said was kind of circular. You're saying if they have the same credentials, you're instantly going to believe the one that you already believe. So realistically, their credentials wouldn't matter because you already believe them.
Okay, real quick before I get to Kent's final question, this one did just come in. It's more of a comment for you, Ken, but it is a super chat. So to honor it, I'll put it up on screen and you can respond if you'd like to. It's from Living Proof. And he says, the false killer whale is a species of dolphin. Any thoughts on that specifically, Ken?
Oh, me? Oh, sorry. For some reason, I thought you were saying Kent. No, from what I remember looking into, it is a species of whale. I would have to see. This is one of those things where I'd have to see where you're getting that information from. And again, shameless plug, I do have a Discord, so if you have that evidence and are willing to share it with me, just go to my YouTube channel, you'll find it there. Or if Donnie is willing to, I'll send him the link for it, and it'll be in the description.
Okay, thank you very much. And all right, here we go. We are just over the hour-and-a-half mark a little bit. We got a lot of questions in here. That's awesome. Lots of fun during this audience Q&A. And so we'll wrap it up with this final question, which will be for you, Kent. And so we had a nice mix of questions for Ken and Kent. This one comes in from Michael Diaz. Question for Kent. Has any evolutionist ever given an example of a mechanism that would produce new or different information or a new code for DNA?
I am unaware of anybody giving scientific demonstration of that happening. They've tried and tried to change things. They do a lot of crossbreeding, trying to get varieties of dogs or cows or potatoes or anything. I don't think anybody's ever demonstrated new genetic information. It's always degrading what we have or selecting a slice of what's already there, but I'm not aware of anything creating new information. If there is, I'd like to see it. And how many times would that have to happen to change an amoeba to a whale? How many bits of new information would have to be added? How many times would this have to go on? I mean, like, unbelievable that they believe such a thing. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ken.
I'm good. I don't have any comment on it.
Okay, well then I'll just sneak in this one then, since you don't have a comment, since echoing erudite sounded a little disappointed we didn't get the question in. So let's get it in real quick as the final one. Bonus question. Thank you so much. Question for Ken. So he's coming at you, Ken. He says, can evolution be explained without using our imagination or referring to the unobserved?
Yes.
And did you want to expand?
Oh, did I have to?
You don't have.
Well, you'd look at what I've given here. I try my best to not use stuff from the imagination. So everything that I've said, for the most part, has been either factual or agreed upon by the person who I am talking to here. And those are evidence of evolution. It doesn't prove that all species are related, which realistically, I probably should have assumed that the debate probably would have been more on. So that's more an apology on my problem, on my fault, and I'm sorry for that. But yeah, it can be, and I've done it.
Okay, thank you, Ken. And for this final question before we wrap it up, Kent, anything you want to add, brother?
No.
Evolution to get SpongeBob in there.
Evolution is complete imagination. Nothing more.
Kent, you gotta tell me where you got that thing.
I didn't hear that. Got a what?
Where'd you get that?
People send me SpongeBob stuff all the time because I teach evolution is SpongeBob, imagination. I got probably 10 of them now. I've never watched a SpongeBob program in my life. I don't even know what it's about. But I like the idea it's imagination. And that's all it is.
I'm only asking because I actually really like the way that one looks. So,
this one on a spring base, like, I don't know. People send it to me. And they even sewed on the pocket, Professor Dave. Yeah. I didn't do it, okay, but I believe it's true. Okay.
Now, the rumor is, Kent, Professor Dave's related to a strawberry. Is that true? Can you confirm that?
He claimed, I said, are you related to a strawberry? He said, yes. So Ken is related to a whale, far distant, but he is related. And who's the other guy related to a starfish and a snail? Look at the charts. That's what they teach. They believe they're related to everything. I don't see how they can eat a plant or an animal. I mean, that's their cousin. You should stop eating altogether. Just stop.
I think PZ Myers says he's still a fish. He's not only related to a fish, he's still a fish.
He said we are still fish. Yep. PZ Myers. Yeah. We need to get together a clip of all the different atheists claiming this thing, because I asked them the question, simple. You believe you're related to a fish? Yep. And put them all together in a short. I'll have Matt do that when he gets time. We're busy around here. We got a small staff, large burden to carry. So come on down. Get you out of Canada, Donnie. You can come down and join our tech team and help us produce more videos.
Yes, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Maybe we'll do on our side. We'll get a little montage like that for you, since you guys are busy. Ken, and Ken, you won't mind if we get you in there too?
I'll go for it. It's all in good fun.
Be world famous. Yep.
I know you guys aren't actually mocking me. I know it's all in good fun, so it's fine.
We're just having fun. All right, guys. Well, that's it. We're going to wrap up this debate. Lots of fun, engaging, lots of points discussed. Any quick final words, final thoughts from the both of you before we officially shut this down? Ken, we'll start with you. Final words?
I don't have any I don't have any final words. Sorry. I should, considering that this technically would be our last debate, unless at some point in the future Kent's willing to do one on another topic. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have anything.
Okay. Thank you, Ken, though. I appreciate you doing this. And Kent, over to you. Final word.
And Ken, I also do appreciate you doing this. And please really stop and think. Do you really want to face God with what you're believing? I would like to see you get ready. Bible says the fool said in his heart, there's no God. I think you're a fool to be an atheist like this guy claims he is. God doesn't believe in atheists. So if you died today, where would you go? This is why our ministry exists. We want everybody to come to heaven. That's all. This argument is all going to disappear. We're both going to die and turn to dust one day. Then what? Where are you going when you die? God made this world. He owns it, and he can make the rules, like the 10 Commandments. And we're all guilty of breaking his rules. No question. We're guilty. We broke the rules. Don't lie. Don't steal. You can read the rules for yourself. And God's going to punish the wicked. we're going to be punished, or you need to find a substitute. And Jesus is willing and able. So my final words would be, you better get Jesus Christ into your heart, get your sins forgiven, and get ready to face God, because we're all going to face him, I think, real soon. We'll see. Thank you for having me on, Donnie.
All right, thank you. Great final words, Ken. Kent, thank you to the audience. Thank you for tuning in. As always, thank you for the 100 questions. It's always a fun audience Q&A. So with that, Standing for Truth is out. God bless all. All right, there we go. I am going to just go over briefly a few reminders and announcements for everybody. That debate was a ton of fun, laid back, easy going. We had some good laughs, but there were also, enough serious moments and points brought up for some sophisticated engagement. So this was fun. This was Ken Rock's third debate with Kent. Ken Rock also debated Professor David McQueen last week. That one got a lot of good feedback. And in that specific debate, we had quite a bit of audience Q&A as well. So this was fun. It's good to have a laid back debate now and again. Makes my job easy. And Tom Walden, amen, agreed. Doki Doki Bible Club, my brother. Amen. Good to see you. So Ruth, appreciate it. And Sumu. So there's always going to be people, unfortunately, whose questions don't get asked because we get so many questions. I mean, typically 30 to 50. And so once we hit the 90-minute mark, it's kind of time to start winding it down for these evolution debates. But nobody puts on more evolution debates than us. So if you don't get your question asked, I do apologize, of course, but just be here for the next debate. This was, as a matter of fact, number 43 just this year in terms of evolution debates. So overall, if you're not yet subscribed, you love debates, we've scheduled, or we've hosted, and I've moderated over 230. So if you go to the debates playlist section, okay, you can find debates on all sorts of topics: creation, evolution, ancestry, hyper-specific debates such as endogenous retroviruses. I've debated that many times. Typically for the evolution debate challenge that we've been doing, when I get requests for ERVs, I'll be the one to take up that challenge. If you haven't yet picked up the Endogenous Retrovirus Handbook yet, please do pick it up. It's nearly basically 200 pages, the most comprehensive book you're going to find out there, or even response on the topic of endogenous retroviruses. So it should be linked in the description box. It is currently at an all-time low price, and this is the limited edition. So you can see there behind me, there's a full color version, which is the blue one, and then the black one is the original version, which is not currently for sale because it's the limited edition for a little bit longer. I've kept it as a limited edition for a bit longer because, again, I buy them in bulk, hand them around, and people really like that cover. So the other one just released, Special Creation. This one's about 300 pages, and it touches on, I make sure to touch on basically all of your best points of contention, you could say. Chromosome 2 fusion, ERVs. Xavier Ortiz, yes, the ERV book is on Kindle, so you can pick that one up on Kindle, I believe. This one's not on Kindle yet, so hopefully we'll get that on Kindle. I'm in the final stages. I've been working about 8 hours a day on my End Times Theology book, Dawn of the Antichrist. This is months and months in the making, ever since we started doing the series. And then also we had an open mic debate, me and Kent, as the post-tribulation, pre-wrath rapturous engaged for over a couple hours in an open mic. And so this is months in the making. I'm really excited for it to be released. I've read a lot of books on eschatology. So obviously I could be wrong because I haven't read every book on it, but I've read enough. I've studied this extensively. And I believe this book comprises some of the most thorough and up-to-date responses to preterism, whether that be partial preterism, full preterism, amillennialism, post-millennialism. You know, they're all very similar in many ways. But the section on Daniel's 70 weeks and preterism in general, dual and triple prophecy fulfillment. There's tons in here about Alexander the Great, Antiochus Epiphanes. I've done a ton of research for this. So it's in its final stages, and then it'll be a few weeks probably of proofreading, editing. And then, you know, when I get the heads up that it can go into publishing, we're planning on releasing it the very first of November. So I'll keep everybody posted there. But yeah, real quick reminder, shout out to Steve Christie, always with fantastic questions. He's going to be here tomorrow. He's had many big debates on this topic. He's debated Trent Horn, and now he's debating Robert Sungenis. So this one takes place tomorrow at 8 o'clock. This is going to be a big one, guys. So if you're moderators and you can be here, that's going to be great. We're going to field questions. I'm going to be really busy just making sure the format is and everything's going smoothly in this debate. We're going to have some solid cross exam. These are two seasoned debaters, guys. These are two heavyweights. These are two powerhouses in the debate world. So it's going to be big. The last debate we had similar to this was months ago with Doctors Bob Wilkin and Robert Sungenis. That was an epic debate as well. That one was heavy on cross exam. I've rewatched that many times. So Jerome M. So since we sell them through Amazon distributes them. We'd love to have our own center where we can distribute our material and books. We're not big enough yet for that. Unfortunately, but with your help, with your support, with your donations, we can certainly, hope in the foreseeable future to be able to do that. So every month, with more support that comes in, we're able to implement new things. We've got a podcast going now with about 50 episodes so far. Our books are, I would say, better formatted. When we first started the ministry and we were publishing books, we've published now 16 books. And when we were smaller, it was Matt and myself basically, writing them, publishing them, reviewing them, proofreading them, editing. We were doing them all. But now we can implement outside work. So that's awesome. So when it comes to autograph copies, yes, what I do, and I have done this, is I order the copy to my house. I autograph it, and then I got to ship it out. So people who really want an autograph copy, I'm definitely happy to do that. But unfortunately, that's the best way so far. Okay, let me just see the chat real quick. And Unique, appreciate that. Thank you for the compliments. That's awesome. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. So anyways, this one tomorrow, 8 o'clock, the Marian Dogmas debate. I am pumped for this. You guys are not going to want to miss this. Again, we have hosted over 230 debates on all sorts of topics, many of the biggest debates out there. But we've never actually had just an all-out Protestant versus Catholic debate of this type, of this kind. So Marian Dogmas debate really shows me how quickly time goes by, because we scheduled this 3 or 4 months ago, and bam, here we are. Then we've got so this week's big for debates, because we had tonight, obviously, Ken Rock versus Hovind. Tomorrow, Sungenis versus Steve Christie. Then Saturday, a lot of hype for this one, a lot of excitement for this one. This one's been scheduled for months as well. Eli Haytov and J.D. Martin. So free grace or lordship, what is true biblical salvation? I'm pumped for this. For those who love the soteriology debates, we got another one this month. Both of these gentlemen, I know firsthand, have been prepping a lot. And this is going to be a very well-informed debate. Two very educated individuals on this specific topic. AK, John, always sophisticated, both of these gentlemen. Free grace versus lordship. So I'm pumped for this one coming up. And this one's going to be interesting. This one's coming up this month as well. Jamie from Studio 15 Official, he did a presentation on Ken Hovind Official recently on Cladomonas. So him and Taylor, this is going to be a specific debate, much like we do with the ERV debate. So it's one topic, and we are just going to dig deep. We're really going to dig deep on the details on this one. So single cell to multi-cell evolution. This specific topic's brought up frequently in debates. So we thought, you know what? Why not get two individuals, one on each side, who have studied it extensively, and let's have them duke it out. Then at the end of the month, we've also got Turretin Fan and Kelly Powers, the Great Calvinism Debate, all within the same week. The Great Calvinism Debate, the Great Trinity Debate, Jake the Muslim Metaphysician versus Matt Slick, and then the Great Evolution Debate. Clash of the Titans, this one, I tell you. So Mark Reed versus Dr. Dino. All three of these debates are at the end of the month. And we've got a couple King James only debates coming up for you. We've got a round 2 between Will Kinney and CJ Cox. And then we've also got Eddie Kroom and Will Kinney coming up as well. Eddie has, at least the last time I spoke to him, said that he's still doing it. So that one should be on. And I think that's pretty much it right now for reminders, guys. Let me check the chat real quick. Awesome. Appreciate that, Jerome. Always a pleasure. Tom Walden, good to see you, brother. Jamie and Snake will be a great debate. Amen. I am pumped for that one. That's going to be a lot of fun. Okay. I'm always open to receiving emails, and also, so let me see here. Appreciate you being here. Life with Yellow. If you're new to this channel, but you love the eschatology topic, I have an end times theology series that I've put out. That's at 10 episodes. I've put it on halt a little bit just because the book is like the series on steroids. So it touches on everything. Plus, once the book's released, then I'm going to basically, you could consider it season 2 of this series, where I'll have another dozen episodes for you on all types of topics. So check that out if you love eschatology. And I just did a debate, 3.5 hours with J.D. Morin. This was comprehensive. And I'll tell you why. J.D. Morin, he put out a challenge for me. He challenged me to a debate a couple months at least before we actually did the debate. And so he had a lot of time to prep. I had my series out there for him to basically review and bring his best. So, I like to leave it up to the audience in terms of the debate outcome itself. But if you're looking for a really comprehensive debate on the rapture, there's not really all that many out there. We've hosted several here on this channel. I'd love to get more, but this one is it. The Great Rapture Debate. I think it's at a couple thousand views right now. So check it out if you haven't yet seen that one. That one is very thorough and is perfect for all of the eschatology lovers out there. So I think that's pretty much it. That's all that comes to mind. Karen Weiss, appreciate that. Karen, you'll definitely love the book then, because it goes into even more detail, especially on preterism. I've noticed, preterism is now popping up more and more these days, and I just haven't really seen some real comprehensive responses. Now they are out there, but as being, moderator and host of so many debates, I've seen basically what that side has to offer. So this book specifically deals with preterism in really, really good detail. So, okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you, Doki Doki, brother. And thank you for the super sticker. Again, I want to thank, I saved it here. I want to thank everybody who gave their support. And also especially, there we go, Taylor K. That's from my dad. He says, keep up the good work, spreading the gospel and combating misinformation. God, I appreciate that. Hey, we can win arguments all day, but it's about winning what? It's about winning souls. It's about planting seeds. It's about watering those seeds and bringing people to Christ. Faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. And that's why we focus so heavily here on basically preaching the word of God, upholding the truth, standing for truth. And we also believe with so many positions and views and opinions out there, we strongly believe in critical thinking. So we don't ever want to just be, an echo chamber, basically. We want to host these debates, these open mics. We've had some serious open mic debate panel discussions. And so, yeah, if you're not yet subscribed, please do so. And I saw that one question. It should be released. The goal is first week of November. So, and it looks like we're on track basically for that being the case. Maybe even a little bit sooner. We'll see. We'll see, as long as I don't get burnt out. So, and Doki Doki, awesome. Thank you. Karen, yeah, it's not really the most orthodox of positions. That's why it's typically the in-house debate, right? Is basically the timing of the rapture, and the futurist position, right? There's futurism, historicism, and then preterism, but preterism comes in all kinds of flavors. So I've basically studied them all, and this book is going to comprehensively deal with them. But in the past, especially, going to church, going to Baptist churches all my, since I've been saved, it's basically the in-house debate. The in-house futurist debate is the rapture, post-trib, pre-wrath, pre-trib. So a lot of people, and I wasn't really all that familiar with preterism either, because when you first hear about it, it as a futurist, it seems like an odd position. Like it's all happened already. Like it just doesn't really jive too well, but this is going to be a comprehensive response to it. So with that being said, I don't want to keep you guys forever. God bless. We're going to be back here tomorrow at 8 o'clock, and hope you enjoyed the debate tonight as much as I did. Fun, laid back, easy going, and God bless everybody.